Hi, I'm Alan and this is Prayers to the Dice Gods, and today we're going on with our Ork Diaries again, so we're giving another Ork another go with mainly contrast paints. Thanks to a comment from Ashley Webb suggesting that we try out some Plaguebearer flesh and then go over the top of that with some Biel-Tan green wash. We're starting him off exactly like we normally would. We're going to give him the Zenithal grey coat from underneath first, and then we're going to go around the top with a paintbrush, just doing some highlights with some grey sear and then some pure white to see if that helps make a difference to the contrast paint. So our first contrast paint today is going to be our Plaguebearer flesh. We're going to put that all over the bits of skin that we can actually see, which is his arms mostly, and a tiny bit of face underneath their helmet. So because I was really excited to see how this flesh was going to turn out, I moved straight on to using the Biel-Tan green shade. I'm glad I went straight in, I'll be honest. For a flesh tone on an orc, this has a pretty nice outcome. I mean, a lot of the work we'd already done with our underpainting was sort of eliminated, but it still gave a really nice tone to that skin, and it's definitely one I'm going to reuse again to give my orc some nice variation. So as usual, one of the only paints that we're going to use that's not a contrast paint is the silver. So we're going to go around everything I want to be silver on this model, getting it ready to have its own shades put on. So we're jumping in pretty quick with our Blood Angels red because, as you know, we like to try and make all of the tops similar. The idea here is to see every time we try something new, does it improve the colour? Now the best way to be able to see that is to see each of the models side by side. If you've watched any of the other Ork videos, you'll know that I'm absolutely in love with the Snakebite leather. It just seems to go on really well, and with the Zenithal and the extra bits of highlight on top, it just comes out looking absolutely fantastic. Now we're going to do the boots in the same way as usual because I really like the way that comes out. Thank you very much for that suggestion. We're going to paint it with the Snakebite leather, and of course we're then going to go over the top with our Basilicanum grey. Painting the Orc's hair plume on the top of his head, I've gone for the blue contrast paint here. It's a lot darker than I was hoping it'd be. I'd hoping it would give it a bit more of an edge highlight when it went on, and it just didn't quite work the way we wanted it to. Something to remember for next time. Another one you'll know is that I have decided the Basilicanum grey is the best thing for doing any kind of metallics. So for doing a lot of contrast paints, I cannot recommend this one highly enough. So we're going to take the Basilicanum grey, we are actually going to thin that down 50-50 with some contrast paint, and then we're going to put it over the top. This brings out some really nice definition in all of the armour panels and the weapons. Something that I really like the look of, and if I ever want to make it a little bit darker, it's very easy to do, and if you haven't tried it out yourself already, I recommend that you give it a go. Now I like to add a little bit of variation to armour panels because it gets a little bit dull all being silver, and of course they're orcs, so they're going to pick this stuff up from all over the place, but what I like to use is Flesh Tearers red for these panels because, well, over the silver it just looks really nice. So using our skeleton horde as usual, we're going to pick out anything that we think looks like bone, so the tusks on his helmet as well as the skull on top. Oh man, just because people get really upset and I don't know why, we're going to drill out the barrel of his gun. I don't know why this seems to upset so many people so much, considering this really didn't come in until not that long ago for people drilling out their barrels, but it does look better. Of course, we've done the other little details around the model which just aren't worth showing just because they're so small, but they're done in the same way that we've done in the other videos. There is a difference in this one because we have so much in the way of red panels of armour and things like the bottom of the helmet jaw that I decided to do red. We're going to do something a little different. We are going to pluck out a piece of foam that we can use to sponge on some silver paint. So what we're going to do is we're going to get tweezers, we're going to pick the foam, we're going to use a paper clip just to hold those tweezers together because it can get a little bit tiresome for your hand if you don't do something like that. We're then going to dip that in the silver. We're going to do exactly like with a dry brush. We're going to try and get most of the paint off on just a little bit of paper towel. We're then going to start dabbing that over the silver bits and trying to catch some of the edges with that without having to use the brush. And that has given it a nice, worn, dirtier look than we would have got if we'd have just left it as it was. And just because we haven't decided what bases we're actually going to do for these guys, we're just going to paint it black for now. I am going to do another video on that just so that I can give some options and see what you guys think as to how we should actually do the bases and all of these. Personally, I think we've got one very sexy looking orc now. We're getting along with the bits that we really like. So I really like the way the Snakebite leather works. I really like the way the boots have come out with the Snakebite leather covered in Basilicanum grey. So we've locked those in. Those are definitely things we're going to be reusing. I like the red top, though I think now that we've got it to the stage where it comes out in a way that I really enjoy, we're going to try out a different colour in the next video. See how we like that one. We're locking in the Basilicanum grey over the silver just because I really like the way that looks. I may darken it up just to see how that looks on the model, to see whether or not it will just give us that extra bit of definition without having to do too much extra work. If you like today's video, do exactly what our Space Marine is doing here and destroy the like button. The thing I'm enjoying most about doing the Ork Diaries is the suggestions that I'm getting from you guys in the comments. Please keep that up, because every time you put a comment in there to try something new, we're going to do that in the next video. And of course, we're going to give you the credit for it, because you guys are awesome and I'm really enjoying your suggestions.